think the Nationals blew it. And this is why I think the Nationals blew it. Because I think Bryce Harper, I'm kind of like the best player in the deal type of guy. When there are trades, usually in the NBA, you'll have trades where a megastar gets traded and 3 or 4 guys get moved to another team. And people go, oh, well, these 3 or 4 guys, they're better than the megastar. But the megastar is the one that you want. The megastar is Bryce Harper. And I just think, and look, we'll see what happens. It's going to be over the course of 12 years. I think that it's likelier that Bryce Harper is going to have a huge career in Philadelphia and is going to win more divisions in Philadelphia than the Nationals are without him. And so that's why I think they blew it. Now, it could go the other way. The Nationals, with these young stars they're counting on, Soto and Robles, they both look like they're going to be very good. Maybe they will end up winning more divisions, but that's what it's going to come down to. Who's going to win more divisions? Who's going to win more World Series? I think with Bryce Harper, proven commodity. He's going to play well. He already is off to a nice little start here through 3 games with a couple of home runs, but he's going to put up 30 to 40 home runs.
I think he's going to play very well.
He played here for 7 seasons, and they won 0 playoffs.
Exactly.
Basically in the playoffs
and it's not
every year.
on him. I understand that, but he was such a transformational
7
player.
years,
and he helped the Nats win exactly 0 playoff series.
I would say this, JP. Point well taken, by the way. I would say that they only blew it if they
wanted to bring him back.
If the good would accept.
Right.
I think you're in agreement. I think that they really didn't love him, but they wanted to throw the offer out there to tell people, hey, this is how much money we threw out, and he turned it down.
I agree with you.
So
but
if they didn't really want him, then they didn't blow it.
No, hold on. Can I say this?
No. If they didn't really want him, to me, they blow it either way. They let somebody who was a superstar, who makes a lot of money or had made a lot of money for the organization.
Yeah.
They let him go. I don't care how it happened. If they gave the best offer and Bryce just said, screw you, or they gave this counterfeit offer, as you're saying, either way, they let a star slip right through their hands who was right here, who, according to this story, and this is where
it was a calculated decision,
says he wanted to be
they didn't value him the same way the Phillies did.
It was they may. I'm sorry. I'll let you. I'm just refuting what he's saying. They may have felt like it wasn't worth it for them.
I understand that. That's why I'm saying I think they're wrong.
Okay, but that's not blowing it. That's making a calculated decision.
It is blowing
and
it
let
if
me
he
say
ends
this.
up starring elsewhere and leading them to division titles, and the Nationals become
as long as
a
the
mediocre
Nats do
team.
well. I don't think they're going to be mediocre. They're going to be successful.
The Nats could win.
Nats
3 or
are going to
4
be
divisions
successful.
We'll see. It'll start this year.
Here's one thing. Here's the one place where I would disagree with Jason.
What?
I do think the Nats loved Bryce, but not for 13 years and $350 million. Now, if Bryce had said he wanted a 4 or 5 year deal, then I think you might have had a different story. I think the Nats might have stepped up and might have been able to keep him. But they were like 29, 28 other teams that didn't think they weren't willing to invest in anybody for 13 years. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they didn't love him. They would have loved him if they could have worked it out.
They didn't love him enough.
Right, they weren't willing to go to those terms.
They were like everybody else.
If they have a brain in their head, they knew that money being deferred until he's 70 years old wasn't going to get the deal done.
That he was going to turn down that offer.
I guarantee you, Boris said that ain't going to get it done.
Right. Listen, people.
So that's what I'm saying. They didn't love him enough.
Well, okay, they were like everybody else in baseball. There was one team that loved him the way he wanted to be loved, and that was the Phillies.
The 13 years thing, though, this is why I say they blew it. And I could be proven wrong. Look, Bryce could end up being a bust in Philly. They never win a division.
I think he's going to be.
The Nationals win World Series.
I think he's going to be a very good player.
Wrong. But I think, I'm going to guess, that Bryce Harper is going to continue his Hall of Fame track record. And they made a calculation. We kept hearing it. They're either going to do Bryce or Rendon and Trey Turner. Mm-hmm. Right? These guys of the future. I lock up the guy now, Bryce, and he's going to be your 3 or 4 hitter for years, and I think you got a chance to win many divisions like you have. Kick's absolutely right. They haven't won any playoff series, but look, the Angels just gave Mike Trout a ton of money. He hasn't won a playoff game, I don't think.
Zippy, 0-3.
Hasn't won a playoff game. Mm-hmm. He's a great player. I get some of the metrics thing, like they talk about the defensive metrics or the analytics on Bryce Harper. He was terrible in the outfield last year. Now, some people would counter and say, well, he just didn't want to get hurt. That might be the case. I just think I'm betting on Bryce being uber successful in Philly.
Yeah, I think he will be.
Hitting a bunch of home runs, and I think they're going to miss that.
But there are going to be other teams that will be just as good, and the Nats will be one of those, especially because they've done such a great job in their farm system. The sum of their parts.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily buy that. Because
that's the part that you're ignoring.
I'm not ignoring it. I think it's a definite possibility.
Yeah.
But I think there's also the possibility that some of those prospects you always talk about could be suspects. We'll see. And the other thing that's curious to me about the whole years thing, I understand that. I would hesitate to give anybody a 12-year or 13-year contract.
And that's what he wanted.
They gave Strasburg 7 years.
Yeah, but it ain't 13.
They gave Strasburg
that's not,
a guy. Come on.
It's
How do you give Strasburg 7 years? You won't give Bryce Harper, who's not a pitcher. Okay, but Strasburg has a track record of getting hurt all the time, and pitchers get hurt way more often. How are they giving Strasburg the security and they won't give
half the commitment, JP?
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's
$175
million. And I guarantee you that's why they were probably hesitant on some of these deals going forward, and including Bryce's deal, because they see how bad the deal is that Strasburg gave.
Look, I might be the only one, and all I'm saying is they could regret this. None of you believe they're going to regret this?
It's a possibility.
Hold on. I definitely believe they could.
And it starts this year.
But I also am perfectly fine with keeping Rendon, hopefully, keeping Trey Turner, hopefully.
You trust the plan,
and trusting your process, and that the sum of your parts ultimately will keep you right there.
Well, I think it's a
great plan.
I think it's a solid backup plan. It's a backup plan.
I think the Nats,
preferred plan for me, if I'm the owner, the GM, whatever,
you're not going to be able to have the core.
The preferred plan is to have Bryce Harper.
Well, you could have Bryce,
megastar,
and then a bunch of donks.
Like
they didn't want to have Bryce and a bunch of donks.
Let's say 3 years ago, the Caps were frustrated.
You're
they said,
let it go.
3 years ago, the Caps could have been frustrated and said, you know what? The sum of our parts can be better if we trade Ovi and bring in some other guys.
Right.
Sorry. Generally, keep the star. Keep the star.
By the way, Strasburg's deal was also not heavily deferred, not as much as they offered for Bryce, but it was deferred money too. $10 million a year for, I think, 6 years.
Nobody believes he's going to pitch 100% of his starts this year. Nobody believes that in any year.
No.
And yet they gave him all these years. All I'm saying, I find that kind of curious.
Yeah, but it's, JP, it's half the commitment.
It's a little more than half. 7 versus 13.
No. $175 million, $350 million-ish. I mean, it's basically, you're talking about the same numbers.
I'm talking about years.
Okay, I'm talking about the money.
They gave a pitcher
I'm
7
talking about
years.
the money. Who cares about the years? I'm talking about the money.
He might only last 2 or 3 years.
But the money
doesn't
doesn't hurt them as much when they defer so much.
Of course it doesn't.
Yeah.
But $175 million is basically half of $350, which is ish what he was looking for. You know, it's half the money that Bryce was looking for.
Yeah, and I understand why they offer the deferrals. I mean, that's what they're businessmen.
Of course.
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to stretch their money.
They knew 2 years ago how this was going to play out. They knew it. They knew it. Rizzo was in here and told us.
I'm just saying, if you believe Zverluga's report, then there's no way you can be angry at Bryce for not taking the Nats deal. That's my. I don't care. I don't think. Look, if you want to say he's disingenuous because of all the crap he's saying on social media and he wanted to be a Nat, I don't care about that.
Yep. There's
nobody listening that would take that deal when you knew there was a deal on the other end of the table that was much better.
I don't argue with it.
I don't care what team it was.
Still irks you that he signs with the Phillies. It doesn't matter the other details. It still irks you that he signs with the Phillies.
I know.